Hi, my name is Gethin Condren. Today in this video I'll be teaching about pedigrees using the Wachowski family from Monsters Incorporated, which includes both Mike Wazowski and Celia. This pedigree will feature 3 generations with a trait of horns versus snake hair, and the snake hair will be for affected monsters and horns will be for unaffected monsters. This pedigree also follows a simple Mendelian trait, meaning that one gene locus will correspond to only one trait. For the simplicity of this pedigree in Monsters Incorporated universe, we will assume that Mike and Celia had offspring who were either affected or unaffected individuals. Starting off with the first generation, we have an unaffected male, Mike Wazowski, who has horns. Mike's wife Celia is an affected female who has snake hair. The second generation features 3 offspring of both Mike and Celia, whose names we will call Billy, Susie, and Ivan. Both Billy and Susie are unaffected offspring with horns, but Ivan is an affected individual with snake hair. Later in Ivan's life, he meets Bethany, who is an unaffected female monster, and they mate to produce 4 offspring. The 4 offspring in Generation 3 are Jack, Molly, Robbie, and Alice. Jack, Robbie, and Alice are all unaffected offspring with horns, but Molly is the only affected offspring with snake hair. Now that we have identified each generation and phenotypic trait, we will now be focusing on the modes of inheritance for the snake hair trait. The first mode we'll be looking at is the X-linked dominant possibility, where the trait is linked to X chromosome and the allele for snake hair is dominant over horns. As we can see in the pedigree, this mode is not possible due to the fact that Ivan will pass on big S and Bethany will pass on little s to her offspring, which doesn't work for the daughter Alice, who is an unaffected monster and who can't receive a big S, which would make her an affected female monster. For the second mode, we'll be looking at the X-linked recessive possibility, where the trait is linked to the X chromosome and the allele for snake hair is now recessive to horns. In the pedigree, we will now see that affected snake hair monsters will have a little s above their X chromosome. This mode is again not consistent with pedigree, as you can see in Generation 2, where Billy receives a Y chromosome from his father Mike and an X chromosome with a little s allele from his mother Celia. Since Billy is an unaffected monster with horns, it is not possible for him to receive a little s allele from his mother Celia and not be affected like his brother Ivan. For the third mode, we'll be looking at autosomal dominant possibility, where the alleles for snake hair are dominant to alleles for horns. This mode is entirely possible for pedigree because Celia and Mike Wazowski could have offspring that are both affected and unaffected if Mike had homozygous recessive alleles for horns and Celia was heterozygous dominant for snake hair. Also, it's possible that Ivan and Bethany would be able to have offspring that are too affected and unaffected if Ivan was heterozygous dominant for snake hair and Bethany was homozygous recessive for horns. For the fourth mode, we'll be looking at the autosomal recessive possibility, where the alleles for snake hair are now recessive to horns. This mode is entirely possible for this pedigree because Mike and Celia can have both affected and unaffected offspring if Mike had heterozygous dominant alleles and Celia had homozygous recessive alleles. Mike and Celia's son Ivan, who is an affected monster, would be able to mate with Bethany and 2 have unaffected and affected offspring if I received 2 recessive alleles, one from Mike and one from Celia, and if his wife Bethany was heterozygous dominant. Finally, we'll be looking at the Y-linked possibility, where the trait for snake hair is linked to the Y chromosome. Looking at the pedigree, this mode is not consistent because Mike Wazowski is an unaffected monster with horns who has an affected son Ivan with snake hair who has sons of his own that are also unaffected with horns. Alright, well thank you for watching this video and hope this helps with your understanding on pedigrees.